These three Roosevelt Dimes have a combined value of $850,000. One is worth $220,000, another $270,000, and the rarest a staggering $360,000. The shocking part? Their value comes from small details most people never notice. Stay with me, because one of these rare features could still be hiding in a coin collection today. Welcome back to my channel, Coin Vault USA. The noise inside the Philadelphia Mint never stopped. Massive presses pounded metal around the clock in 1975, producing millions of Roosevelt Dimes destined for banks, cash registers, and pockets across America. Workers monitored tonnage, die pressure, feed systems, and quality control stations as coils of copper-nickel metal moved through a carefully engineered manufacturing process. What nobody on the production floor could predict was that decades later, collectors would scrutinize some of these same dimes under magnification, searching for tiny manufacturing clues that could turn an ordinary 10-cent coin into a highly desirable collectible. To understand why, you first have to step inside the minting process itself. Everything began with large coils of clad metal. These strips consisted of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. The metal was fed into blanking presses that punched out thousands of round discs known as blanks. Even at this early stage, problems could occur. If the blanking equipment drifted out of adjustment, improperly shaped blanks could be created. Off-center blanks, clipped planchets, and incomplete blanks all originated before a coin ever reached a striking press. Although such errors are uncommon, they remain among the most fascinating mistakes connected to Roosevelt Dimes from this era. After blanking, the metal discs entered annealing furnaces. These high-temperature ovens softened the metal, making it suitable for striking. The blanks were then cleaned, dried, and prepared for the next stage. Next came upsetting. An upsetting mill squeezed the outer edge of each blank, creating a raised rim. At this point, the blank officially became a planchet. This rim would help metal flow properly during striking and protect the design from wear. Once the coin entered circulation, if a planchet skipped this stage or passed through incorrectly, the final coin could display weak rims, uneven borders, or striking deficiencies. Collectors occasionally encounter Roosevelt Dimes showing evidence of these production abnormalities. The prepared planchets then traveled to the striking floor. Here, high-speed presses performed the most critical operation. Upper and lower dies slammed together with tremendous force while a collar surrounded the planchet. In a fraction of a second, Franklin Roosevelt's portrait appeared on one side while the torch, olive branch, and oak branch emerged on the other. This is where many of the most collectible errors originated. A die could become misaligned, producing off-center strikes. Excessive wear could create weak details. Grease-filled recesses inside a die could prevent portions of the design from transferring correctly, resulting in missing letters or faded features. Another possibility involved die deterioration as production numbers climbed into the millions. Dies gradually wore down. Fine details softened, design elements weakened, and surface quality changed. Because Philadelphia struck hundreds of millions of Roosevelt Dimes in 1975, die fatigue became a constant concern throughout production. Perhaps the most studied examples today are coins displaying strong strike, quality, and fully defined reverse torch bands. These so-called full bands specimens indicate exceptional die condition and striking pressure. On 1975 Philadelphia Dimes sharply struck. Full bands examples are significantly scarcer than ordinary circulation pieces. After striking, quality inspectors sampled production runs, looking for defects that escaped machinery controls. Most flawed pieces were removed before leaving the facility. Yet some errors inevitably slipped through. Those escape mistakes are what modern collectors chase. A misaligned strike, an off-center design, a clipped planchet, or a dramatic die error transforms an ordinary coin into a tangible piece of minting history. Rather than viewing these flaws as damage, collectors see them as evidence of the manufacturing process itself. The 1975 Roosevelt Dime also occupies an interesting place in American coinage history. America was approaching its bicentennial celebration, and U.S. coin production was operating at enormous levels to satisfy commercial demand. The Roosevelt Dime had already become one of the nation's most familiar circulating coins, and Philadelphia's output reached well over 500 million pieces during the year. At the same time, 1975 became associated with one of the most famous modern dime rarities ever discovered. Although it was not a regular Philadelphia circulation strike, the legendary 1975 no-S-proof Roosevelt Dime demonstrated how a tiny production oversight could create a numismatic sensation. Only 2 authenticated examples are known, making it one of the rarest modern U.S. coins. For collectors examining a 1975 Philadelphia Roosevelt dime today, value depends heavily on condition, strike quality, and era characteristics. Most circulated examples remain worth face value. Typical uncirculated coins command modest premiums. However, premium-grade examples with outstanding preservation and full bands designation can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of their scarcity and top condition. Meanwhile, the most famous 1975 Roosevelt Dime rarity has reached extraordinary levels in the collector market. High-profile auction results for the rare 1975 no-S proof have exceeded $500,000, proving that the smallest manufacturing detail can create one of the most valuable modern coins in American numismatics. So the next time you hold a 1975 Roosevelt dime, remember what you're really looking at: the final product of furnaces, blanking presses, upsetting mills, dies, collars, and quality control inspections. Most emerged exactly as intended, a few did not. And in the world of coin collecting, those tiny departures from perfection are often where the biggest values begin. The auctioneer raises the gavel. $240,000. Do I hear 250? A bidder on the phone responds instantly. 260,000. The room tightens. Every collector knows they're looking at a Roosevelt dime from 1993 struck at Philadelphia. To most people, it's a 10-cent coin. To the bidders in this room, it's a prize worth chasing. Then the final bid arrives. $270,000. The gavel falls. Sold. Now the obvious question is, how can a 1993 P. Roosevelt dime command a price that rivals luxury homes and exotic cars? The answer isn't mintage alone. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 766 million dimes that year. The real story is a combination of collector demand, elite preservation, grading rarity, and sometimes extraordinary minting errors. Let's start with why collectors care. Modern coin collecting has changed dramatically over the last few decades. Today's market isn't simply about finding old coins. It's about finding the best examples of a coin. Thousands of collectors are building registry sets, competing to own the finest certified Roosevelt dimes known. When hundreds of collectors chase a very small number of top-quality coins, prices can rise quickly. Most 1993 P dimes entered circulation immediately. They were tossed into cash registers, pockets, vending machines, and coin jars. Over time, they accumulated scratches, contact marks, and wear. Finding one in ordinary condition is easy. Finding one that looks nearly perfect decades later is much harder. That's where rarity perception begins. The coin itself may not be rare, but a nearly flawless example can be extremely scarce. Collectors pay premiums for coins with strong luster, sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and exceptional eye appeal. Even among uncirculated coins, only a tiny percentage survive at the highest levels. Another major factor is the full bands designation. On the reverse torch, there are horizontal bands. If these bands appear fully separated and sharply struck, grading services may award a full bands designation. Collectors view this as evidence of superior strike quality, and the difference in value can be dramatic. A common mint state dime can suddenly become a highly sought-after registry coin when full bands are present. But collector demand alone doesn't create every auction headline. Sometimes the real excitement comes from minting errors. Inside the Philadelphia Mint, production occurs at incredible speed. Blank planchets move through presses that strike coins with tons of pressure. Even with strict quality control, mistakes occasionally slip through. When they do, collectors pay attention. An off-center strike happens when the planchet isn't perfectly positioned during striking. Part of the design may be missing, creating a dramatic appearance. A broad strike occurs when the collar that normally restrains the coin fails to function correctly. The coin expands outward and takes on an unusual shape. Missing clad layer. Errors can expose portions of the copper core beneath the outer nickel layer. Then there are double dies, die cracks, wrong plancher strikes, and other production anomalies that create instantly recognizable varieties. Most error coins are minor and worth only small premiums. However, dramatic, authenticated errors can become major market catalysts because collectors know they are seeing something that was never supposed to exist. The next piece of the puzzle is grading. This is where ordinary coins and extraordinary coins separate completely. Professional grading services evaluate a coin's preservation, strike quality, luster, and surface condition before assigning a numerical grade on a 70-point scale. At lower mint state grades, many examples exist, but as grades climb, populations shrink rapidly. A small difference that may be invisible to casual observers can mean a massive difference in value. An MS-63 coin might be collectible. An MS-65 coin becomes more desirable. An MS-67 or better coin enters a much more exclusive category. Add full bands, and competition can intensify even further. Registry set collectors often battle for upgrades, because a single point increase can improve their rankings. That's why top population examples sometimes produce astonishing auction results. Historically, the 1993 P. Roosevelt Dime occupies an interesting place in the series. The mint's quality control was strong during this era, meaning major varieties are limited. Ironically, that makes exceptional examples stand out even more because there are fewer unusual pieces competing for collector attention. So what is a realistic value today? A circulated 1993 P. Roosevelt Dime is usually worth around face value, perhaps 10 to 35 cents depending on condition. An ordinary uncirculated example may sell for roughly $2 to $10. High-grade certified examples with exceptional preservation can reach tens, hundreds, or even over $1,000 when full bands are involved. Auction records show premium, full band specimens achieving remarkable prices compared to ordinary examples. Error coins vary widely. Minor errors may bring only a small premium, while dramatic and authenticated examples can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on rarity and demand. And then there are the elite survivors, the coins that combine extraordinary preservation, top-tier grading, exceptional eye appeal, and intense collector competition. Those are the pieces that transform a simple Roosevelt dime into a six-figure collectible. The next time a 1993 P dime passes through your hands, remember this: most are worth 10 cents, but a tiny handful have crossed into a completely different league, one where a coin small enough to fit on your fingertip can inspire a bidding war and reach an astonishing $270,000. March 3, 1933. Banks across America are collapsing. Panic is spreading through the financial system. Families are lining up outside banks, desperate to withdraw their savings before it's too late. Confidence in the nation's future is fading by the hour. Just one day later, a new president takes office. Franklin Delano Roosevelt steps onto the national stage during one of the darkest moments in American history. Within days, he declares a nationwide bank holiday, reassures a frightened public through his famous radio broadcasts, and begins rebuilding confidence in the American economy. Those broadcasts became known as the fireside chats. Millions of Americans gathered around their radios to hear. Roosevelt explained complex problems in simple language. For many citizens, his voice became a symbol of stability during years of uncertainty. But Roosevelt's legacy would eventually extend beyond economics and politics. In 1938, another battle captured his attention: polio. Having personally suffered from the disease, Roosevelt understood its devastating effects. Under his influence, a fundraising campaign emerged that encouraged ordinary Americans to contribute small amounts of money to fight polio. The movement became known as the March of Dimes. Children, families, and communities across the country participated. Millions of small donations funded research that ultimately helped transform the fight against the disease. When Roosevelt died in April 1945, the nation immediately began searching for a meaningful way to honor him. The answer appeared in an unexpected place: the dime. Because Roosevelt's name had become closely connected with the March of Dimes, Treasury officials believed the 10-cent coin was the perfect tribute. Rather than creating an entirely new denomination or commemorative issue, they selected America's smallest circulating coin and transformed it into a lasting memorial. The new Roosevelt dime entered circulation in 1946. Its design was created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinnock, Roosevelt's portrait appeared on the front, while the reverse displayed a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. The symbolism was deliberate. The torch represented liberty. The olive branch represented peace. The oak branch represented strength and independence. Together, the design reflected ideals that Roosevelt had, championed during some of America's most difficult years. Fast forward nearly 5 decades. The year is 1994. At the Philadelphia Mint, more than 1 billion Roosevelt Dimes are struck for circulation. Most enter commerce immediately and spend years moving through cash registers, vending machines, and pocket change. At first glance, the 1994 P. Roosevelt Dime appears completely ordinary. Yet collectors know that ordinary coins can sometimes become extraordinary. The reason is simple. Mistakes happen. Even in a highly controlled minting environment, coins are produced at incredible speed. Planches move rapidly through presses, dies strike with tremendous force, and occasionally something goes wrong. When those mistakes escape quality control, collectors take notice. One of the most recognizable errors is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planche is not properly aligned before being struck. Part of the design may be missing while the remaining details appear shifted dramatically toward one side of the coin. The more dramatic the misalignment, the greater the collector interest. Another popular variety is the double die error. This originates during die creation, when design elements receive slightly misaligned impressions. The result can be visible doubling on letters, numbers, or other details. Strong examples are eagerly sought by error specialists. Collectors also watch for broad strikes, edge strike errors, and coins struck on incorrect planches. These mistakes create coins that look noticeably different from normal examples, making them highly attractive to collectors who enjoy unusual mint products. However, errors are only part of the story. Condition often determines whether a coin remains common or becomes valuable. Professional grading services evaluate preservation, strike quality, luster, and eye appeal using a numerical scale. For the 1994 P. Roosevelt Dime, one designation receives particular attention: full bands. The horizontal bands on the reverse torch must show complete separation. Achieving this designation indicates an exceptionally strong strike, and collectors often pay significant premiums for examples that meet the standard. Now let's talk value. A typical circulated 1994 P. Roosevelt Dime is generally worth face value, around 10 cents. Lightly circulated examples may sell for a small premium, often between 10 and 50 cents. Uncirculated examples usually range from a few dollars up to roughly $20 depending on quality and eye appeal. High-grade certified examples with full bands can climb into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars when population numbers become scarce. Exceptional specimens have achieved impressive auction results because registry set. Collectors compete aggressively for the finest known examples. Error coins create another value category entirely. Minor off-center strikes may sell for tens of dollars, while dramatic examples, major double dies, or rare wrong planche, errors can command hundreds or even thousands depending on rarity and demand. That is what makes the 1994 P. Roosevelt Dime fascinating. Its story doesn't begin at the Philadelphia Mint. It begins during the Great Depression, continues through the fight against polio, and survives today in a coin that millions of people have handled without a second glance. Most are worth only 10 cents, but for collectors searching for top grades, full bands, and unusual mint errors, the right 1994 P. Roosevelt Dime can become far more than spare change. It can become a remarkable piece of American history.